Sure, gaming is fun, but what if I get bored of doing the same things in every game I play? That's where speedrunning comes in. From the outside looking in, one might see a speedrun and think, aren't you trying too hard? You're tarnishing the intended experience. However, those within the scene tell a different story. While there is a sense of friendly competition, it's more about finding new ways to play our favorite games. Here's why speedrunning is an underrated scene within gaming that promotes replayability, helps sell video games, and is a true test of hand-to-eye coordination. Everyone has their favorite game, that one with so many hours poured into it that the routine is down to a science. Every collectible comes in a predefined sequence, every boss is fought in a familiar fashion, and it's so easy now that the internet is no longer necessary to get everything done. It's nice to relax with the game and not have to think too hard, but one day I stopped and thought, what if there's a different, more efficient way to play the game? Lo and behold, I was right. Oftentimes, the way developers intend for their game to be played isn't exactly the optimal method when it comes to completing it quickly. Finding that optimal route may require the use of glitches or oversights in a game's programming. Speedrunning requires full understanding and mastery of a game's design to then reverse engineer that design and produce the desired outcome, whether that outcome was foreseen by developers or otherwise. Following this loose definition of the speedrunning scene, I should address the elephant in the room in the form of a question that I've seen mentioned both outside and inside the scene. Do developers like seeing their games torn apart? This is a common concern among newcomers to speedrunning and was shared among those within the scene in its early years. While it may seem like an elaborate disservice to a developer's hard work, the majority of them find the practice exciting and terrifying simultaneously. A speedrun can give any developer a lot of positive press, but it's also a test of their competence. If their game crashes or has some kind of fatal error mid-run, it's on the developer's heads.
No! I'm done. I am done.
On the flip side, lack of errors shows just how well their game is optimized to handle things that clearly aren't supposed to happen.
Line up about there. And we can fly. And walk on invisible walls in the middle of the sky. Don't worry about it.
I realize this take may not sway everyone. For those who still don't like glitching their way through a game, there is in fact a glitchless category, where the objective is to complete a game quickly while doing everything as its developers envisioned. The pros get to go fast, and purists can still enjoy the game as they know it. Everyone's happy, or at least I hope so. Knowing how developers feel about our scene, the general public may wonder, is this a relatively new stance? Has speedrunning been combated in the past? The answer might come as a surprise. Allow me to briefly shift focus to Resident Evil 4, originally released in 2005. This is a critically acclaimed game and is very popular for speedrunning. Many years ago, a glitch was found that allowed the main protagonist Leon to animate 1.5 times faster than normal, which led to world records of the game being shattered. This error was coined Ditman glitch, named after the internet user who brought it to light. This is a 14-year-old game that's been graced with multiple re-releases across too many platforms, if I may give my honest opinion, as time has gone on. Capcom, the developer of the game, has had all the time in the world to fix the Ditman glitch, but they never once did. The footage shown here is my own, and is of the Microsoft Windows version made available in 2014. 9 years after its initial release. If Capcom didn't like this bug being used, they would have fixed it by then. But they didn't, because the glitch isn't fatal to the game and is easily avoided should players not want to use it. Its presence harms no one, thus the developers see no problem with it. While some glitches are never fixed in the interest of speedrun appeal, there are also instances of a game's mechanics being changed or reinstated to satisfy fan outcry. In Super Metroid, a game that I like to speedrun, the physics allow the player to scale singular walls using well-placed jumps. Imagine rappelling off a mountainside but somehow moving upward. It's likely this was unintentional, because doing this allows for many upgrades and collectibles to be obtained long before expected. When it came time to make a sequel, which became Metroid Fusion in 2002, Nintendo opted to change the physics so that this was impossible. Whether this was done to combat abuse of the mechanic or to shift the player's focus to the plot of a rather text-heavy game, no one really knows. One thing is for sure though, this change upset a lot of speedrunners and Metroid fans in general. This was before the era of patching a game in a digital update, so unfortunately Metroid Fusion is stuck the way it is. Fast forward to 2004, and Nintendo is remaking the original Metroid from the ground up in the vein of future releases. In the process, Nintendo actually listened to fans and reworked Super Metroid's wall jump physics into what would become Metroid Zero Mission, allowing for an experience that is just as personalized as the beloved classic. These changes may seem minuscule, but they are what Metroid fans love about Metroid. If a player tires of doing one thing one way, there's probably another way to achieve the same result. Without a design mentality and mechanics that allow players to bend the experience to their will, Metroid just isn't the same. In conjunction with speedrunning being a different way to enjoy games, there is a multitude of ways to go about speedrunning them. The standard method of speedrunning is known as any %, where the goal is simply to run through a game quickly with restrictions ranging from very few to absolutely none. A more impressive category, my personal favorite to watch and my preferred way to run Super Metroid, is 100%, where the goal is to not only complete a game as fast as possible, but also to do or collect everything that the game in question has to offer. Each category offers a different leaderboard and a new set of rules. A world record holder for any % might be in 3rd place for 100% in the same game, and a glitch allowed in any % may be banned for 100% runs. There are also game-specific categories, such as Yoshi's Woolly World being split into 2 different any % categories because one of the in-game modes allows for nearly every single level to be skipped, resulting in a rather boring speedrun. Combine categories with the aforementioned possibility of glitches and oversights, and the result is a million ways to play games, which can be heavily personalized as well. One outside the speedrunning scene may wonder, is it an esport? Do speedrunners get paid for their craft? Well, seeing as how the practice warrants a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records for some, many of us think of our growing faction of gaming as an esport. However, unlike those in the competitive fighting scene for instance, we aren't paid for what we do. Speedrunners do earn revenue from streaming on various platforms such as Twitch, but that's due to simply being content creators and not necessarily thanks to speedrunning. While monetary gain from speedrunning doesn't go to those in it, the scene is most known for its work to charity, most notably through the organization Games Done Quick. Games Done Quick, which from this point forward will be collectively referred to as GDQ, is a biannual event held every winter and summer to raise money for Doctors Without Borders and the Prevent Cancer Foundation. These events are so well known that people take a week's vacation just to catch all of it live, whether it be in the audience or at home on Twitch. A following such as this allows us to raise astronomical numbers like these in the interest of the less fortunate. These events also serve as phenomenal press for both well-known and independent developers, who rely solely upon content creators and popular events like these to get their names out there. Nier Automata is a game with a lot of money behind it, but for the longest time I had no desire to play it. Here's a handicapped man just like me playing it and hey look, I own it now. Time Spinner? What's this, a new indie game? Well, I'm glad I have a speedrunner to showcase it and see if I'll... and goodbye money. GDQ offers a smorgasbord of exposure for all kinds of games to new people all over the world, introducing new games to the gaming populace as well as older games to a new generation of young gamers. Video games naturally hone one's hand-to-eye coordination, but when players add the caveat of playing them quickly, the need for lightning-fast reflexes increases tenfold, which goes double for runners like myself and have coordinated shown here. One example of a stunt I pull in Super Metroid is known as Mock Ball, which allows the player to maintain their running speed while in ball form. This glitch requires the player to be moving in mid-air after running and become a ball just as they touch the ground. Morph too early and Samus bounces, canceling forward momentum and forcing the player to try again. This oversight takes time and effort to master, but doing so will net the player a handful of collectibles sooner than intended. A common trick done in several games is leaving the intended bounds of the level geometry, possibly skipping large portions of gameplay. The examples shown here don't take too much work, but trust me, doing this in other games can get difficult at times. When I initially began this essay, my goal was to spread word of the speedrunning subculture so that more would appreciate it. However, as I moved forward, I've come to the conclusion that perhaps speedrunning isn't underrated per se, but rather misunderstood. As well known and respected as GDQ is, I'm not sure that an out-of-context clip of the event presented to the average person can fully encapsulate just what it is that makes speedrunning so fun and addictive to those who participate. These are gamers that have played their favorites for so long they are now bored, and in a quest to alleviate that boredom, they've discovered an all-new way to play them. What may appear to some as butchering a developer's effort, in truth is simply an attempt to revitalize love for the game in question. We as speedrunners come together so that no one forgets the games we love, to introduce more games to more people, and so that our reflexes never run dry, all while making a positive difference in today's world.